Interesting topic. Let's start the show.
You shut down the fucking government. Instead of opening it the fuck up, you motherfuckers campaign on who's to fucking blame for it being fucking closed. That's the fucking strategy, to keep it closed when you should be spending fucking time on trying to open this bitch back up? The Republicans want the tax cut.
Don't you know that this is all by design? Government shutdowns, career threats, forced retirements, rifts, mass layoffs, all of the above. Fam, I need you to know, first of all, don't panic. Okay, I understand the feelings are real, but nobody can take away something that they didn't give you. Your life, your health, your goals, your dreams. If he didn't give it to you, he cannot take it away. I'm telling you right now is the time to double, triple down on all things positive. You got to block out the noise because it's a lot and it's going to be more to come. It's all about.
Thank you so much for coming. So I was at the US FDA in the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, and our entire communications office was decimated. So right now, if somebody has a pacemaker inside their body that is failing, there is nobody there to communicate that to the public. So we covered everything from Band-Aids to brain implants to breast implants to pacemakers to hips. If there's a recall, there is no staff there to tell the public that people have devices inside their body that are failing them or creating toxic situations in their body.
I was one of the thousands of federal workers terminated this weekend. Let's talk about it. Am I surprised? No. I was working for a federal health agency, so once RFK Jr. was confirmed last week, and they started almost immediately with the CDC and firing off 1,300 probationary workers on Friday, I knew that my time was coming very shortly after, and I got my email on Saturday. It was from an email I've never seen before. It was something like important HR notification at agency.gov, an email I've never seen before. It didn't come from one of my managers or direct supervisors. I haven't heard from anybody superior to me. I just got that email letting me know I was terminated for performance. Emails.
Hey y'all, hey. So it looks like the CDC has ended telework for employees with disabilities, according to the union. I have read this article and there's not really a lot of information from CDC in terms of statements, but what I can say is if you have your reasonable accommodation request in, I wouldn't pull it. I wouldn't retract it. If you decide that you want to move forward with an EEO case, I think you probably should still do that. It looks like it's probably going to end up turning into a class action lawsuit because the Americans with Disabilities Act is still operable. The Rehabilitation Act is still operable. So this is a move that CDC is making. You know, the VA is also kind of trying to tighten their approval process on reasonable accommodations. So, I mean, you just got to sit back and see what happens. They haven't been approving them for several months at CDC anyway, so let's see.
I was laid off a couple weeks ago. Now I'm going to start bartending again. I'm so excited. So I'm going back to work at the same place that I've worked before, on and off, since like 2018. It's easy. I know the folks there. I know the recipes. I know the food. I know the drinks. Most of it doesn't change. So it's kind of one of those places that I've kept a really good relationship with management and with staff that work there. So it's kind of one of those places that I just kind of pop back in when I need the money. And I work the shifts that they need me to work. And it's kind of a win-win situation. The thing is that they are letting me kind of just pick up the shifts that I want right now instead of actually putting me on the schedule outright, which would, obligate me to like come into shifts or whatnot. So they're being really flexible with me, which I appreciate.
I am your crazy uncle, and if it's a day that ends in Y, oh, the shenanigans. So this is an important one, people. So I need you to really, really listen and pay attention because it's all about the trickle down, right? All about the trickle down. So remember when the 2,000 jobs, roughly 200,000 jobs were roughly just wiped off the board last week in terms of federal jobs? And that affected what? The VA, Veterans Administration. Well, they cut 1,000 jobs across the board. Well, you know what that affected? Oh, that affected the Veterans Crisis Line, which if you don't know is an emergency number, 988, okay, for veterans who are in crisis, meaning veterans who are suicidal, veterans who are suffering from substance abuse, even just veterans who are lonely and want to talk to somebody. But it is an important service, okay? And it has the risk of being gone.
It was just purely cut and dried. He's like, hey, given the current situation, I can't do this. I read out to bring you on another contract. Yes, we'll definitely do that. But right now, Kara, it's crazy. It's just overall, it's just mayhem.
He's looking for loopholes to not pay federal workers. See, this is what happens when you have a swindler in the White House. Donald Trump and his businesses literally have an extensive and well-documented history of not paying people. And now he has brought those dubious shenanigans to the highest office of the land and is trying to find a loophole in the law that guarantees pay for federal workers during a shutdown. And don't think for a second it's one of those ancient laws that's outdated and he's trying to re-envision it. No, the law guaranteeing pay for federal workers in a shutdown was passed in 2019 when Trump was president. He's trying to find a loophole to a law that he signed. And it says when the government reopens, both furloughed and accepted employees will be paid retroactively as soon as possible after the lapse ends, regardless of scheduled pay dates, which obviously makes sense because these workers swore an oath and took a pay cut to serve the United States of America. Now, mind you, the law was passed with hundreds of Republicans and hundreds of Democrats coming together in agreement. But now, our swindler-in-chief, Donald Trump, has directed his chief of trickery, Russell Vought, to change the policy. Is it too much to ask that they stay true to what they wrote on paper? Let's find out.
Great news for federal correctional officers. The Trump administration just helped them out by terminating their union contract. Oops. Over 30,000 officers lost their collective bargaining rights just like that. They got no notice and no negotiation. The Bureau of Prisons called the union a roadblock, so they got rid of it. Now there's no say in safety policies, staffing, overtime, or schedules. No grievance process, no arbitration. If something goes wrong, you're on your own. Good luck getting the outcome you want in court by yourself. And the funny part? A lot of these same officers actually supported Trump. They voted for him thinking he backed law enforcement. And I totally understand where they were coming from. Of course the longtime crook and criminal loves and supports law enforcement. Now their union's gone. Retention pay? Cut. New hires? Not happening. Overtime? Plenty of it. And they're being told this is all to make things better. They thought Trump had their back. Now they're finding out the hard way. He never did. I hope these officers like spending time away from their families, because there's a lot of overtime to do.
Y'all, working for the federal government these days is basically like the Hunger Games. You're just waiting to get chosen to get you up out of here. Because I was laid off from my federal position, and I mean, I don't work there anymore, so I will just say what agency it was. I was laid off from the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and then but I already knew that the layoffs were coming. After the election results and Donald Trump won that election, I was like, yeah, it's a wrap. I'm going to start looking for other jobs because I already knew that was coming. So I was laid off. A week later, I started a different position as a legal analyst in a different government job, and now that position has been rescinded as well. And I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm done with the federal government until we get a change of administration, because
I have an idea. We're talking about not showing up for work, right? Let's start with the unpaid government workers. They not getting paid no way. I don't work if I don't get paid. Let's just think about that. Airport's gonna shut down. Ain't no TSA people. There ain't nobody in the air traffic control box. That's just one piece of it. They need to stop going to work. And guess what? They can say they're gonna replace them, like we'll hire more people. Who the fuck gonna take a job when they know they ain't getting no check and don't know when they gonna get it? Yeah, let's shut this government all the way down. Let's just slow down to a damn stop. And where are those Epstein files at? Because we know that's what it is. You got that woman waiting to be sworn in because she's the 218th vote. You ain't fooling nobody. You can buy yourself a little time, bitch. But I tell you what, this is going nowhere. This problem going to be addressed. Where are those Epstein files? Y'all real cute with this foolishness, and we see through you. You own the House, the executive branch, and the goddamn Supreme Court. This is not the Democrats' fault. They trying to help us keep our health care. And then they have nothing to do with immigrants getting health care, no matter how many times they say it. They just double down, la, 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 double down, la, 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 double down. That's all they do. That's their MO. Projection, hypocrisy, deflection, and straight up lies. We see you. Unpaid government workers. Stay your asses at home. Let's do this.
And before I go clock in, watch how the fuck you talk to me today. Watch your mouth. I ain't getting paid still, and I'm here. Watch your mouth.
TSA agents and air traffic control people, the ball is in y'all's court. You want to see a government go from shut down to automatically shutting back on? TSA agents, stay home. You're not getting paid anyway. Air traffic control, stay home. The amount of money that these billionaire CEOs and these airlines would be losing, these airlines that through their support with that big, beautiful bill, the domino effect of TSA employees not showing up to the airports, air traffic control not showing up to the airport, the massive amount of customer complaint, and folks having to call their banks and their credit card companies for refunds, y'all will be hitting them folks in them pockets. See, a lot of what is happening is because people are allowing it. People are going to work anyway. The National Guard people are showing up. The police departments are showing up. ICE, who are everyday people, are showing up and continuously doing the job. TSA agents are not even getting paid and they're still showing up to work, even with the potential threat of Trump saying that he don't even know if he gonna give them back pay. I'm just looking for any one group that has the ball right now to say no. TSA and air traffic control, no, I'm not coming to work for free, eat shit. Any of these people in uniforms to say, no, we're not arresting anybody who hasn't committed a crime. It's like folks say they want change and they hate what's going on, but it's like, you really don't.
White House is confirming, saying that they are not planning on paying back furloughed employees during this government shutdown. If you are currently a federal employee thinking you're gonna get paid back for your work, you're not. You should leave. Fuck that shit.
You know how we're all worried about TSA right now? I have a really good idea. What if, because of the shutdown and we all need to get through security and we all have places, Addie has a big birthday. We have a trip to go on. What if, when we're in line, we just all give them $1? If you don't know what I'm talking about, the government is shut down. So TSA agents are government employees. They're not getting paid. So a lot of them, rightfully so, are calling in sick. They aren't coming to work, whatever. If this keeps going on, this is going to be a huge problem for everybody. So
you mean to tell me Republicans control the House, Senate, executive branch, and the Supreme Court, and somehow this federal government shutdown happens to be the Democrats' fault? I just want to clear the air, but first and foremost, I want to say this. Shame on both sides for allowing our government to get to this point in the first place. There are a lot of federal workers right now that are going without pay, and I sincerely hope this moves by as fast as possible in order for these people to stay on track and nothing happens to their families going through this undecisive checkmate that we're currently going through with our United States government. On the left, we have Democrats that are trying to hold on to extensions that everyday Americans are trying to receive based on their health care. Those extensions are underneath Medicaid and Medicare, and they depend on these services for, the obvious reasons. Now we have individuals on the right. They want to cut those costs based on being influenced by Doge, saying that there is fraud and waste that is happening in the healthcare sector. What I see from both sides, mainly the right now, they're scapegoating the immigrants receiving illegitimate healthcare based on your tax dollars and mine. An easy fix to this.
This is very rude not to announce something, say something.
Some of y'all may or may not have seen my video when I said, when the shit was going down to DC, when I said, don't ask me to go nowhere in DC. I'm extending that to anywhere that I got to get on a flight to go to. Don't ask me to go nowhere that I got to get on a flight to go to. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. Because it's a very rare chance I'm getting on a flight between now and December. Don't ask me. I was watching the news and I don't know if he's the head of TSA. I don't know if I know it was a man that's like really big in TSA. He gonna say, well, obviously TSA workers are government employees, so they're not getting paid. But he gave a breakdown. That man said TSA workers recovered like either 7K or 9K firearms last year, and 94% of them was loaded. So he said, you got to think about the mental state, the state of mind that you got to be in to be able to capture that many firearms. And and how you got to be very, very meticulous and thoughtful. Like, okay, let me look at every single thing that comes through this thing. So he said, now that TSA workers not getting paid, it's not that they not going to do their job, but it's going to be harder to be as meticulous, as detailed, to look for everything.
Democrats in Congress, I'm talking to you. Hold the damn line. Don't you dare fold like cheap lawn chairs at a cookout. Let's be clear. Republicans have the House. Republicans have the Senate. Republicans have the White House. This government shutdown belongs to Republicans. Don't let them bully you into signing their wish lists of cruelty, stripping health care, cutting vital services, and leaving communities to starve. Government is supposed to work for the people. See, some of you have only been trained that it only works for the rich. So when government actually pauses to say, no, we're not going to rob grandma of her insulin today, suddenly folks want to act like that's un-American. What's un-American is worshiping billionaires like they care about you, thinking their sparkle going to trickle down to your wallet. It won't. The glitter is fool's gold, and you're left sweeping up the crumbs. So Democrats, keep that backbone stiff. You understand me? You better hold the line like it's Black Friday at Walmart and there's only one TV left. Hold it like your mama held that phone call when she was calling and telling your auntie all your business. Don't let go. And Americans, I need you to understand this. Trump is going to fire government workers no matter what, okay? Because the Supreme Court gave him the infinity gauntlet to snap and wipe out anything he wants. Republican Congress will not check him, which means that Democrats are the last firewall standing between you and that incinerator that's coming. So keep the government shut down if you got to. Do it by any means necessary. Better a locked door than opening it to thieves who are only coming to rob you. Because this fight ain't about politics, y'all. It's about survival. And survival means you don't negotiate with the school bully that's been stealing your lunch every day since the first day of school. You plant your feet, you grip tight, and you hold the damn line.
Oh my God, St. Louis, did y'all hear they are closing 30-something public schools? They are closing 30-something public schools. We are outraged. We are furious. Why? Why do we have the right to be furious because they're closing 31 public schools? Our population is drastically declining. Yes, our population is drastically declining. Then you add everybody leaving the city, moving to the county. Our population in the city is declining. Then you add all the kids that are going to charter schools, magnet schools, private schools, county schools. Who's in public schools? We don't have the population we had 10, 15, 20 years ago to keep all of those schools open. That's wasting taxpayers' money. Yeah, I know we would want to keep those schools open for the city, but when you take your kids out of public schools and put them in those magnet schools, those new charter schools, it's taken away from the public schools, right? Exactly. I actually went to a city hall meeting like 3 weeks to a month ago. And I actually brought that up. I was like, I don't think they should be closing schools, telling them to make lofts and stuff. And the mayor, she let me talk. And when she got time to talk, she doubled back to me. And she was like, my goal My goal is not to close every St. Louis public school. My goal is to keep people within the city so we can keep the schools open. But if we don't have the population to keep the population in the city, then there's no need for that many schools, especially public schools.
Starting in 2026, all children in the United States will be required to attend school from home year-round, with all students withdrawing from the traditional school system. This means that parents must supervise their children's learning at home, while teachers have transitioned into online support roles with a federal salary cap of $35 per hour. This policy directly results in the interruption of family income sources, prompting the federal government to introduce a subsidy program. Based on IRS tax records, guardians will receive a household compensation grant equivalent to 80% of their annual income. However, over 90% of parents claim they have no understanding of systematic teaching methods. The daily responsibilities of 6 hours of teaching supervision, homework management, and discipline maintenance are entirely borne by families. Opponents argue that school education is irreplaceable, while supporters contend that this is precisely what forces parents to set aside other matters and deeply engage in their children's growth and needs.
What's this government shutdown all about in the United States? I'm so happy you asked. Let me take you through step by step. I'll talk slowly for the people at back, and you guys can explain it to all the people that like to run their mouths in the United States who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Here we go. You got your pen, you got your paper? Go borrow somebody from down the hall. Number 1. The federal government needs to have secure funding every single year it's in operation. And if they don't have funding okayed and legitimized by the first of the fiscal year, that's October 1st, then they shut down. Number 2, who pays for the federal government? I'm so happy you asked. Because of separation of powers, the federal government can't be funded by a simple, executive order and the whim of the president. The purse strings, I kind of like that. It reminds me of Grammar Ruby. The purse strings are held by Congress. Congress is the only entity that can actually give power, give money to the president. It's kind of like giving an allowance, but you got to ask them nicely. Here's how it works. A budget is created. Right now, the Republicans are in charge. I know, I don't want to remind you of that either. The Republicans are in charge. They come up with a budget. As they come up with a budget, they present it to the House of Representatives and the Senate. When they presented it to the House, there needs to be a 50 plus 1% in order to pass it along to the Senate. When it gets passed along to the Senate, wait for it, they need 60 of the 100 votes. Just so everybody understands, 2 senators per state, 50 states, there's 100 votes. You need a 60% in order to pass it in the Senate. Not to ruin the end of the story, but the Republicans don't have the votes. They don't have 60. So right now, the Democrats are stopping the budget from passing. Just so you're aware, this has happened many times before. However, what normally happens in this situation is they vote on what's called a continuing resolution, okay? So you fought all year, you haven't come to a resolution, nobody's agreed on a budget, it's not gonna pass, so what do? You make a temporary agreement. You say, okay, fine, we're gonna fund the government for the next 3 months, but within the next 3 months, you need to come up with a formalized budget for the rest of the year. It's called a continuing resolution. Usually they can agree to it. This year, the Democrats said, no. It warms my heart when they say no and stand their ground. Here's the issue. Not having a budget means that the federal government isn't going to get funded. And as of October 1st, today, nobody working for the federal government gets paid. So about, over 700,000 federal government employees are furloughed, are told to go home and watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay, maybe they're not told to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but maybe if they did, they'd run the government better. Number 6, this is just an...
You know what? I don't know if you're aware. A lot of those government contractors also live in D.C. Even though they're contracted workers, they still work for the federal government. And he laid off a lot of them too. And then he offers that severance package. A lot of them were going to take that offer, and then guess what? They weren't even eligible for that offer because they were exempt, because they were contractors, not actual federal government employees. Even though they have a contract for the federal government and they're considered employees,
they have a contract. That means they're exempt. Like, I used to do contract property management as a floating manager for various companies. But if the company let me go, the fact that I wasn't technically an employee, they couldn't offer me a package. I was basically screwed because I was on contract. So this is the same thing. So
I literally got my severance check, and that shit was the most disappointing thing ever. Uncle Sam don't give a fuck if you need that money to feed your family. They still want their cut. That shouldn't be even legal. That the government be taking their cut for a severance check that's supposed to be for you to, you know, make ends meet while you look for another job. Like, the government's fucking savage. So I'm telling you, that's why the middle class is disappearing.
So I wanted to rant real quick. About a month and a half ago, I was laid off, and thankfully, I'm so grateful for this. That company gave me a severance package. Well, they did tell me it was going to be paid out in 2 different payments. And after I got the second payment, I was like, well, there's a lot of money missing. Like, this isn't right. So I emailed them. Come to find out, $6,000 of that severance package went to taxes. $6,000. Like, I could really use that $6,000 instead of it going to taxes. I, for some reason, was under the impression that I'd be getting all that money. It wouldn't be taxable. That's not the case. But I would... That's a lot of money. Oh my God.
Why would we have to lay off federal workers if we getting all this money from tariffs? Huh? Shutdown. Stop sign? What happened to all that money from the tariffs? Remember? The billions and billions we was bringing in? It might have been a T. It might have been a capital T. A trillion. What happened to all that money? What happened to the money from the waste, fraud, and abuse? You know? The doggy. The Doge and them. Huh? Can you please tell me why we stopping the payment of federal workers? Huh?
I'm an air traffic controller who's not getting paid right now during this government shutdown, and things could be getting a lot worse for us very soon. Because Donald Trump is threatening to not give guaranteed back pay to federal employees who were furloughed during the shutdown. Multiple news sources have reported on this. It's very likely to happen, and in fact, OMB has already deleted a reference to the law guaranteeing that back pay from their guidance for the shutdown. And just for a little bit of context, air traffic controllers are essential employees. We have to continue showing up during the shutdown even though we're not getting paid. With that said, we're not furloughed because we have to keep coming into work. But paid leave doesn't exist during a government shutdown. So if we put in annual leave, our version of PTO, or sick leave, which is normally paid, it can't be entered that way. It has to be converted to furlough, and previously the law stated that furlough would all get back paid guaranteed. Now, not guaranteeing that back pay creates a few issues. First of all, air traffic controllers, we request our time off a year in advance. Every year at the end of the year, right around this time or the next month or two, we request all of our leave that we're going to get for the next year. So we have to plan a whole year in advance. So I have a guy at my facility right now who is on his leave for a week. He's got a vacation that he scheduled a year ago. And now Donald Trump is saying, we're not going to pay you back, even though he had no clue a year ago that the government was going to be shut down. And even if it did, he was guaranteed back pay. Now he's saying, we will not give you any money during this time, even though annual leave and paid time off is a benefit that we agreed to give you. We're not going to pay it out.
Thanks for watching. Take some time to process. Join us in the next episode.